What is going on, everyone? We are back with another music reaction. This is the HellaDepraved Shocktober 2022 Top 50 per Kerrang Most Evil Songs. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are disappointed.
Yeah, hella disappointed.
But yeah, we're HellaDepraved. So Kerrang has sucked
So far.
at putting an evil song list together.
We're hopeful. We're ever hopeful.
I'm hopeful that since this is Slayer,
They at least picked a Slayer song that counts.
right. Now, again, Slayer's another one of those old school rock bands I'm not the biggest fan of. It's not to say that I don't listen to some of their music from time to time in passing when it's like on the radio or whatever.
Right. It's just we're not hardcore fans. Yeah.
Right.
Now, I like Slayer. I'm pretty sure this one, I know why it's on the list.
There's a chance I've heard this song.
But I'm not... Yeah, well, we'll have to get through it. But I'm pretty sure I know why this one's on the list. Because I do know this song.
But we're going to do the normal thing that we've been doing with this entire list so far. We're going to listen to the songs, pause it to read you the lyrics, read the annotations on Genius, and then we're going to decide, or at the end, we're going to read the About section, and then we're going to decide whether or not it deserves to be
On the evil song
on
list.
the evil song list, and then we will further decide if it will make our
Shocktober playlist.
Shocktober playlist, which reminds me. So we didn't tell you guys soon enough, but we did a King Diamond song
Family Ghost.
called The Family Ghost.
And we said
Or is
we
it
were
just
going to
Family
listen
Ghost?
to the audio recorded version instead of the live version and then decide if it was going on the Shocktober playlist, and it is. So,
It does,
that is a new addition.
yeah. It's there
Okay.
now. That's what I was doing. All right, so we're going to check this out. This is Slayer with
Angel of Death.
Angel of Death live. We have to do live because copyright reasons.
Right.
Let's get it. Live in New York City, 1988.
All right.
Number 17, Angel of Death.
Nice announcing.
Listen, man, can we drop the spot, please? Drop the spots. Drop the spots, because I can't see shit flying at me. Drop it, thank you. Listen, I have been asked to inform you guys, listen, let's stop throwing these fucking cushions around, alright? You guys came here to have a good time, man. You're fucking blowing it big time, man. No, this isn't me talking. This is common sense here, dudes. Fucking hey, come on. I know you're here to have a good time. You're having a good time, but fuck, man. Why don't you give us a break?
And people are still throwing them. He's like, I give up.
This is common sense, man.
Do me a favor, leave the fucking spots off. I want to see shit flying, you know?
In
If
case it
it's
comes
coming
at
my
me.
way, I wanna
Yeah.
duck. Listen, you guys came here to have a good time, and you're fucking up big time, man. We can probably never play here again because of all this shit.
Everyone's like,
And
yeah.
we can't play anywhere as it is. This is the last song for you tonight. We're gonna have to cut it short. This is Angel of Death.
And the cushions go flying.
All right. That intro was really fun.
Yeah, man.
Man. So it says it's produced by Rick Rubin and Slayer. That's annotated for some reason. Rick Rubin annotated this.
Oh, okay.
In terms of writing, I'd say the Rain in Blood album was pretty close to complete when they came in. I think we just stepped up the recording from what they had done independently before that. It was really more the engineering. Andy Wallace did it, which is what later got him in with Nirvana, absolutely. 100%, it was insane. It was punk energy, but with a precision that punk rarely ever had. It was much tighter than punk.
Sure.
All right, Rick. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, and then the intro said, ah! Anyways.
Of course.
One of the most epic metal screams of all time, brought to you by Tom Araya. Thank you. I don't think that necessarily needed annotated, but okay.
True.
Rick Rubin verified this next part. Auschwitz, the meaning of pain. The way I want you to die, slow death, immense decay. This is what this little annotation says. There's two of them, technically. Rick Rubin says, I signed Slayer to Def Jam. Columbia Records was the distributor, but they refused to put it out because of Angel of Death. That was how I started my relationship with Geffen Records, because Columbia refused.
Okay.
And then the other annotation says the first verse of the song of Slayer's landmark album pretty well exemplifies the band's obsession with pain and suffering. Auschwitz was a concentration camp where the Nazis experimented, tortured, and killed Jewish people. The camp is represented as the meaning of pain. The way that I want you to die is thought by Mengele as he expresses his power to control, or power and control over his victims.
Mengele?
Sure.
Mengele was the doctor of death.
Okay.
He was the one that did all the twin experimentation and really fucked up shit.
Oh, real guy.
Real guy from Auschwitz.
Okay. Because you said Doctor of Death, and my mind immediately went, Dr. Satan!
Yeah, that's probably where that concept came from, actually. But he was a different level of fucked up.
I believe it. Slow death, immense decay portrays the way that they were killed. In quotes from Carrie King, it says, we're all hypocrites. We're supposed to have freedom of speech, but you're going to get offended by us because we're playing a song about that. That's wrong, I think. On a whole, that mankind is full of fucking idiots. In a nutshell, our lyrics just say think, and that's it.
I mean, that's also true. I think, mankind never likes to be faced with facts about what has happened historically, because it shows us what we're capable of.
Showers that cleanse you of your life. SS officers told victims they had to take a shower, undergo delousing. Victims undressed in the dressing room, then walked into what was in fact a gas chamber. Signs said bathe, or which stands for bathe, or a word I'm not going to try to pronounce, which stands for disinfection room.
Yeah.
Forced in like cattle is annotated as, this is not an ideal simile. Nazis brought prisoners to concentration camps on
trains.
Literal cattle cars. Human mice. Mengele is particularly infamous for conducting atrocious human experiments. In this context, human beings were treated like lab mice. Jews were also frequently compared to mice by the Nazis, an analogy that Art Spiegelman's classic graphic novel Mouse references. According to Spiegelman, his use of anthropomorphized. It's
attributing human attributes to animals.
Right.
For those who didn't know. Yeah.
It's one of those words that I knew the meaning of, but never had to pronounce it out loud.
Right.
Until just now. Mice to represent Jews was an appropriation of a common trope in anti-Semitic propaganda. Jews were often compared to mice or rats, implying that they represented an infestation that needed exterminating. Rats destroy them, a 1940s poster from occupied Denmark. And then 400,000 more to die. Mengele is accused of sending 400,000 Jews to their death at Auschwitz from 1943 to 1945.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, and not interesting in a good way, that the people that refer to other people as animals in a derogatory way are often far worse than any animal out there.
Right. Please tell me you referenced this song in your one of your reports.
I haven't done one on Mengele.
No, but I thought you did one on Nazis.
Oh, I did, but not on Mengele specifically.
Right. All right.
And this song is very specific to him. Right. I mean, granted, as a whole, the ones that worked at concentration camps were fucked up individuals. However, he was, again, kind of a different brand.
Right. So the chorus was Angel of Death, Monarch to the Kingdom of the Dead. This line refers to Joseph Mengele, a Nazi physician during World War II who conducted deadly experiments on Jews in the concentration camp Auschwitz. He's a pretty goofy-looking dude.
In that picture, yeah.
Monarch to the Kingdom of the Dead. Mengele was the monarch of his experiments on Jews, sending at least 400,000 men to be killed. And then verse 2 says, Sadistic surgeon of demise, sadist of the noblest blood, destroying without mercy to benefit the Aryan race, surgery with no anesthesia, feel the knife pierce you intensely, inferior, no use to mankind, strapped down, screaming out to die. So the sadistic surgeon of demise, Joseph was truly sick and sadistic individual, capable of great harm, often performing gross and just plain wrong surgeries. See this line for more details. I'm good.
Yeah, so he was referred to as the Angel of Death, too, but I think that's giving him too heavenly of a presence.
Right. Sadist of the noblest blood. Mengele was killing thousands of Jews as a higher up of the Schutzstaffel.
SS.
Henceforth, being a sadist of the noblest blood. To benefit the Aryan race. Of course, you're a longer...
He believed in the rhetoric of the Nazi Party.
Right. The Aryan race is a concept historically influential in Western culture in the period of the late 19th century and early 20th century. It derives from the idea that the original speakers of the Indo-European languages and their descendants up to the present day constitute a distinctive race or sub-race of the larger Caucasian race. Belief in the existence of an Aryan race is sometimes referred to as Aryanism. While originally meant simply as a neutral ethno-linguistic classification, it was later used for ideologically motivated racism in Nazi and neo-Nazi doctrine, and hence also in other currents such as occultism and white supremacism.
So basically, we're a bunch of egotistical bastards who have hubris working for us.
Right. And then the surgery with no anesthesia, feel the knife pierce you intensely, was Mengele was reported to have conducted vivisection on some of his victims without anesthesia and removing their hearts and stomachs.
For those who don't know what vivisection is, look it up.
Right.
That's I mean, like, he did a lot more surgeries than that, and anesthesia went for the war efforts. So, having your heart and everything cut out, at least you'd be dead at that point. Because he did far worse while you were alive.
Right. Alright, verse 3 says, pumped with fluid inside your brain, pressure in your skull begins pushing through your eyes, burning flesh drips away. Test of heat burns your skin, and your mind starts to boil, frigid cold cracks your limbs. How long can you last in this frozen water burial, sewn together, joining heads, just a matter of time till you rip yourselves apart.
That's all descriptive of the different experiments he did.
This verse and the one below describes some of the experiments Mengele performed on Jews. You can read more about them here.
Yeah. The cold specifically had something to do with the elevation for fighter pilots and figuring out how to protect them. I mean, yeah.
The sewn together joining heads just a matter of time to rip yourselves apart section is annotated as a reference to the allegation Mengele stitched together twins. One of them deformed. The hunchback was sewn to the other child back to back. Their wrists back to back too. This claim was first made by Auschwitz survivor Vera Alexander at the 1961 trial of SS words. Adolf Eichmann,
Right.
the architect of the Holocaust, where it was asserted that Mengele sewed the veins together and turned them into Siamese twins. This allegation became more widely known when Vera Alexander was featured in the 1985 documentary The Search for Mengele, which has been cited by several authors, including Gerald Posner, an expert on Mengele.
Yeah. He also took parts from one twin and attached them to the other, wondering if twins could sustain the other one. He was really fucked up. I mean, granted, and I shouldn't even say that. People excuse some of his behavior because of what we have discovered based on it that does help people. But the problem is, he absolutely did everything the most sadistic way possible, and 90% of his experiments had no outcome whatsoever. And honestly, his behavior cannot be justified.
Right. Alright, that was the bridge. Millions laid out in their crowded tombs, sickening ways to achieve the Holocaust. The first half of that, during World War II, especially the Holocaust, dead people were thrown into tombs and holes in large piles, crowding them with no space. These are also called mass graves.
Yeah.
And then sickening ways to achieve the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a mass genocide during World War II of European Jews. Under Adolf Hitler's reign, the Nazi Germans killed over 6 million people in the span of 4 years. These were carried out in pogroms, concentration camps, mass shootings, etc. As one of the most destructive events in the world, this lyric refers to Joseph Mengele's potential goal to create another Holocaust. Okay. Alright, verse 4. Seeds of blood bury life, smell your death as it burns deep inside of you. Abassinate, eyes that bleed, praying for the end of your wide-awake nightmare. Wings of pain reach out for you, his face of death staring down. Your blood running cold, injecting cells, dying eyes, feeding on the screams of the mutants he's creating. Pathetic, harmless victims left to die, rancid angel of death flying free. The abassinate, eyes that bleed annotation is abassination is a form of torture, blinding a person with a red-hot metal plate held before the eyes. Fun fact, the 2007 book Foils Something, a compilation of obscure words, includes abassinate, along with the note that the song's use of the word was the only print example in history they could locate.
Interesting.
There's also a deathcore band from New Jersey named after the word.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Your wide-awake nightmare. He is using nightmare to refer to something horrific happening to you, but saying it is not just a dream, you are actually awake during your nightmare, so it is happening to you in real life. Also, when you have a dream nightmare, your body is in a state of paralysis, meaning you are unable to move at all, so a wide-awake nightmare would be your worst fears, the absolute worst thing that could happen to you. I feel like that didn't even need to be annotated.
Right.
Your blood's running cold. While blood running cold is a common expression to describe fear, this is also likely an allusion to the infamous Daiichi hypothermia experiments. Dachau. That's probably how that's pronounced.
Dachau.
Huh?
Dachau.
Dachau?
It's another of the camps.
Okay. Purporting to identify the best treatments for hypothermia, particularly as it might be used to help German airmen shot down above ICCs.
That's what I was talking about, yeah.
The experiments involve forcing or coercing prisoners to immerse themselves in frigid water, sometimes for lethal periods of time, and numerous invasive biometric measurements and autopsies. While the true scope of the experiment is unknown, historians know of 360 to 400 experiments conducted on 280 to 300 victims. Another verse referencing this is one about the frozen water burial.
Yeah.
Um,
That's when I mentioned it before. And that's just from the logs that they could find that weren't destroyed.
Injecting cells, dying eyes. This homophone can refer to two things. One, when Mengele tried to change people's eye color by dyeing them, and two, the eyes of the dying victims of Mengele.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, what chemicals can we inject in your eyeballs to change the color?
And then the flying free section.
Mengele escaped.
It says this line can be interpreted in three ways. One, he's flying free and that he had free reign over his experiments. Two, after the war, Mengele was able to escape capture and was never tried for his war crimes. Essentially, he lived as a free man after the war and eventually died in a suburb of Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was never really remorseful for his crimes, saying he had never personally harmed anyone in his whole life. Or three, it could refer to the harmless victims that fly free in ashes from the chimney.
He was a horrible person.
All right, we're going to let it ride out for the rest of the way because there's nothing new to read off of.
Well, infamous butcher. That makes sense. Oh, they're getting kicked out.
Thank you, fucking New York!
Alright.
All right.
Like I said, I was pretty sure I knew why this got put on the list.
So I'm torn. This is one of those that, not for our list, but for Kerrang's list, I feel rides that line. And I say that because, again, it's a song about an evil person
Who did evil acts.
who did evil acts. So it does technically fit that the
Right.
song is evil thing, but it's still not what I think about when I think of evil.
Like an evil song.
Right.
Because this is definitely an evil person who did evil acts.
Right.
But in terms of like, if
It's
you
like
were
watching
to make a list,
it's like watching a biography about this,
Yeah,
and then being like, "This biography is evil." No,
the biography
itself
itself
is not.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. Now here's
Now, it definitely deserves to be on the list way more
Yeah.
than like 90% of the rest of the songs.
so a lot of people would look at this and be like, this type of message, he's using it for shock value. It shouldn't be. Here's my.
But I don't think he is.
Yeah, here's my 2 cents on this. First of all, he definitely does not think Mengele is a cool person. He refers to him as rancid. He refers to him. I mean, it's a derogatory take on this dude. He does not think he's cool. He's not revering him or anything like that. My other thought on this is, with all of this persistent historical washing that we are trying to do societally, not just in the US right now, and all of this talk about now that most of the concentration camp survivors have passed away, obliterating the idea that this genocide took place. And it wasn't just the Jews. The Jews were the main target, but you had gays, you had gypsies, anybody they didn't like, honestly. But those were the three parties that were struck the hardest. But this was an appalling moment of humanity, the Holocaust. I think that used in this format, where it's not idolizing it or trying to spread Aryan messages or anything like that, but it is true to the point. He does pop in there a few times that you can tell he does not like this guy. We need to remember. And if it takes it being a rock song that generations later are going to listen to and be curious as to who he's singing about, or read the annotations on Genius or something like that and look it up,
You're late.
so that this historical event does not disappear and we don't forget as humanity how wretched we can be if not kept in check.
Almost as wretched as your asshole. That stunk.
But I think it's important.
I did too. Now here's the thing. I am not putting it on the Halloween playlist.
No, well, it's not spooky or...
There's a couple reasons. In most cases, this type of song would go on the playlist. My problem is, one, I'm not a big fan of the overall sound of it. It very much just barely teeters over into that I can bear it.
It's a little too power metal, hair metal for me. That's why I never really got into Slayer.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not the typical thing I would like to listen to on a regular basis.
Right.
But more so, honestly, this song popping up would just put me in a bad mood.
Well, I mean, so I'm pretty sure that anybody who was watching, which is why I said my last piece, could see my face this whole time. And it pisses me off. Big time.
Right.
Not the song. Honestly, like I said, I think that this actually has a place. This is a band that is not romanticizing Mengele. And I can appreciate that, because look at how many victims and families were devastated from the Holocaust that spoke out against it, and we're ignoring them. So if a big name, because Slayer's a big name band, can get a message across that will have people researching for generations to come, I'm all for it. But yeah, it's not, it would put me in a wretched mood the rest of the day.
All right, so I'm going to go through and read the reasoning, not that you guys really need it.
Right.
But...
Oh, hello.
Kerrang put it on the list, number 6. And they say, given that their entire oeuvre revolves around the war, murder in general, unspeakable wickedness, finding evil, Slayer songs is hardly difficult. In fact, it'd be significantly more of a challenge to identify songs by the LA thrash metal pioneers that aren't rooted in despicable, debased acts of inhumanity. That said, while the likes of Dead Skin Mask, based on the exploits of Wisconsin serial killer Ed Gein, Jihad, Fuck Your God, and Necrophiliac, are gruesome and terrifying in equal measure. It's the notorious opening track. Now I have songs I need to go listen to.
Right.
It's the notorious opening track of the masterfully malevolent Rain of Blood album, which will forever remain the Californian band's most noxious and black-hearted artistic statement. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Jeff Hinneman's lyrics, detailing Nazi physician Joseph Mengele's abhorrent experiments on patients at the Auschwitz concentration camp. Burning flesh drips away, test of heat burns your skin, your mind starts to boil frigid cold, cracks your limbs. How long can you last in the frozen water burial is the fact that they're so clinical, unemotional, and detached, leading to accusations that the band were glorifying the horrors. The controversy...
That's not how never mind.
Right. The controversy actually led to Columbia Records, the distributors for producer Rick Rubin's Def Jam label, to insist that the track be removed from the album. a demand which both the band and their label boss flatly refused. Ultimately, the label washed their hands of the release, leading Rick to take it to Geffen Records instead. Jeff always denied accusations that the song exhibited Nazi sympathies, calling it a history lesson.
Exactly.
Which is what I heard it as.
Well, and clinical because it's historical fact.
Right. There's nothing I put in the lyrics that says necessarily he was a bad man because to me, well, isn't that obvious, he stated.
Yeah.
Not unreasonably. His guitar partner, Kerry King, was even more brusque, saying, read the lyrics and tell me what's offensive about it. The band's lack of repentance is understandable, but it'd be a dead soul indeed who can listen without flinching at the visceral horror.
Yes and no. I mean, like, obviously, I didn't necessarily flinch, but then again, the Holocaust was a college study for me. Like,
and okay,
that was going to be my major for a while.
There may inevitably be somebody that indubitably who may eventually come along and be like, well, you guys can listen to songs from Skinned about so-and-so or from somebody else that sings about so-and-so. How could this not make a Halloween playlist? And here's the difference, okay? I am absolutely personally fascinated by serial killers, the psychology behind them, so forth and so on. I am not, however, interested in the psychology behind a racist, egomaniacal, bigoted, torturous asshole who has decided to aid his country in the
With
elimination
over 400,000 souls
of an entire group of people, an entire race, religion of people.
Right.
Right? I think the only person that has ever been rumored to come this close in serial killer fucking legendom was probably Bathory.
That was only 650 people, not 400,000.
That was 650 people.
Now, here's the thing. So I have studied Mengele quite a bit. And I will admit to being fascinated with how somebody could twist their profession so completely that they feel nothing for another human. And again, I mean, you covered it pretty well. It's an egomaniacal, bigoted, racist viewpoint that is taken a stance in terms of thinking he is aiding his country win a war and also the Aryan ideal. Like, these people aren't people. My problem with the song is he was a sadistic fuck who went beyond and overboard in every experiment. Most of them had no purpose. Who did aid in the disposal, like trash, of 400,000 souls. So while I can appreciate this song, and I do appreciate actually the clinical tone that they took, A, because it's recitation of historical fact, and on top of it, that's how Mengele viewed his victims, very clinically. Like, no emotion whatsoever. So I understand how they approached it. It just... this kind of wanton destruction puts me in a shitty mood. So, again, 20th century European history with a focus on the Holocaust was my major in college for over 2 years. And the deeper I went, the more I realized, A, there's very few job opportunities. Like, I really actually wanted to work at, like, the Holocaust Memorial Museum or something like that for a while, giving tours and whatnot. But, like, I think, so I went for forensic profiler, which isn't less dark. It's just that there's different people. It is not just one regime causing this much horror and getting away with it for this long. So, you know, again, I can deal with like Skinned and stuff like that. I really do appreciate this song. I do listen to it from time to time. I was aware of it. I just can't have it on. My Halloween playlist is my happy list.
Right.
So yeah, he's happy right now. That makes one of us. I really do. I mean,
I'm genuinely happy.
This has a historical.
The fuck is your problem now, you little bitch?
This has a historical place. I think I appreciate that they did this.
Why are you?
I appreciate that it will continue because Slayer is still a big name band. I appreciate that lasting value in teaching humans to think and, you know, what's wrong with us, review who Mengele is, who he's singing about, learn something that maybe you didn't learn in school, most likely. Anyway. Yeah. So, I can see why this is on the list. This actually, like, again, not an evil song per se, but at least he did better selecting this one than he has in the past.
Mom, Dad got kind of rough.
I know, but you started it. You did. And
now you're going to show... rough. It was mostly you just
normally the cat shows us their butts, but that was for you. That was for you. He loves you guys.
That's why I removed the screen. Just for you. Anyways, we're just going to end it there. We love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. We will see you tomorrow with yet another one. We're almost done with this list. We're only going to 2.
Almost to Halloween.
We've only got 4 more videos after this. So.
Almost to Halloween.
Love you guys. Bye.